God,
But
this is
how can
hot.
how? Okay, I think you didn't go live, and I got from the scheduled. I got the link from the scheduled, I think.
Oh my God, guys, I am so sorry.
No.
For the last half an hour almost, I have been sitting here chatting very happily with Logic. Didn't I didn't even go live because I thought I was already
Yeah,
live. Because oh my God,
I
this is
think now
so.
you are live. I had the notification. I think I
Now
had
I'm
the
live.
notification. Yeah, yeah.
This is so embarrassing. But then this is a rookie mistake, as they say.
Yeah, it
Beginners
happens. No,
bad
yeah,
luck.
yeah.
Beginners bad luck. Anyway, guys, welcome finally to the very late brunch. Pathik, thank you so much for letting me know, man. Because if I hadn't got this message from a friend, Pathik is trying to log in. Now we're live. Come in. He's about to leave. Oh boy. What do people have to do on a Sunday anyway? You have to be here. Hey, please. Hi. Hi, please. Jeez, man. Rookie mistake. But logically, thanks for, keeping me informed and entertained. This has been very good. I I hope I don't lose out on this, but at least I've made notes and it's been absolutely fantastic. Do you have any do you have any burning questions or anything of that sort that you wanted to discuss?
No, no.
Like,
You can talk to anybody. I go on mute. You can talk to anybody else who is online. I
all
go
right,
on
sure.
mute.
All right. Cool. I'll drop you for the moment and just leave this open for anybody else who wants to join. All right. Thanks so much, Logically. This was absolutely fantastic.
Okay,
I've got a whole bunch of new
okay.
YouTube channels to check out, and I'm going to watch all of them and try to get them on for interviews as well. So thanks a ton. All righty then. So, anybody else is welcome to join in. Anil, if you wanted to talk, I know we've been putting this off for a long time, but if you want to join in and have a chit chat, just put in this, there's this link which I've pinned over here. So just go to this link, copy paste it, and you can join in on the call, right? So, what is happening on this nice, lovely Sunday? Um, Pathik, finally, shout out to me to bring. I've already talked to them, told them about this because it was a totally rookie mistake. I just didn't press the go live button on StreamYard, and I was absorbed in this conversation I was having with Logically, and it just time flew by until you messaged me and said it still says you're waiting. I was like, what the hell's going on? But it's like one of those things where you kind of there are a whole bunch of things happening and you're kind of poking around and just or like like if I'm playing the guitar or something of that sort, and you're like, why is there no sound coming out, why is there no sound coming out, and then you figure out that you just haven't plugged in yet. So happens to us all. Hopefully never again. This should be the last time that happens. But thanks all for joining in. I really wanted to talk about one thing in particular, which has been on my mind. And I'll probably take a clip out of this and, publish it separately, separately later on. But I was recently diagnosed with ADHD. And this has kind of brought to light how little people know about ADHD and how many misconceptions there are out there about this. It's absolutely astonishing how little people know about it. So it's please, I will get to you in just a minute. All right, don't worry, I'll be there. So ADHD is basically a condition where it's your attention span is a big problem, right? There's, of course, it stands for attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. Now, I'm not a hyperactive person, as most of my friends and family will tell you. I have never been hyperactive, but then you have a person who is primarily presenting with hyperactivity, some who are presenting primarily with inattentiveness, and then you have a combined version which kind of combines the worst of the both of them. So the problem primarily is that it's very hard for me to stay focused on one thing. Now, fortunately, science and skepticism is something that is always something I'm thinking about, when it comes to religion or topics in science, or miscommunications, misinformation, most primarily. So this kind of stuff keeps my attention. Music production, these are the things that really have my attention. But when it comes to anything that I'm not able to focus on, that is not creating that dopamine hit, I am not able to focus on it for a long period of time. Now, I've come across a couple of people who are, for example, Mark Hyman. It's a very unfortunate name, Pathik. I think we have a little background about that word. Anyway, so that's an internal joke between Pathik and me. But the primary thing is, people say that ADHD is not an actual disorder, which has been bugging me this week primarily because ADHD is a very well documented, very heavily studied disorder, which is in about 4% of the world's population. So, about 4% of the entire human race has probably got ADHD. I might be a little bit off on that number, but that's approximately it. So, it is extremely common, and it can present in a number of different ways, and it's primarily a problem with executive function. So when it comes to prioritizing a task, when it comes to procrastination with things, with the things that you're supposed to be doing and need to get done, that prioritization is extremely hard to do. The actual activities that you want or need to engage in, like you have to get a task done, the brain, if it's not getting the dopamine hit, it just does not focus on it. So for example, I have to write an article about something, and I will put it off till literally the last minute, and then do a crazy dash to finish it off. But you might think that everybody has these problems, right? All students in all fields have some form of this disorder, and smartphones are making it worse, you might think. And it's true to an extent. But ADHD is distinct because it is, first of all, persistent for many years at a time. And it is diagnosed as a problem, as a condition, when it becomes extremely disruptive to your quality of life, right? So, for example, throughout my schooling, I always got just barely passing marks. Even in my MBA, which I can't call it an MBA, but PGD, GM, postgraduate diploma, which Pathik and I did together, he would know that my financial, my on all the finance subjects, I was absolutely terrible. I could not get my head around them. I would ask so many questions in class that I was often told to shut the hell up and sit down because I was disrupting or delaying the class, because I wasn't able to wrap my head around these things. It just wasn't going in. And when it comes to interesting topics, like when it was coming to marketing and HR and doing research and stuff like that, I was all in. I was very engaged. I was very interested in all of these things. Similarly, in school, maths, history, Hindi absolutely sucked. But when it came to English, biology, and maybe a couple of other subjects, art, music, those were the subjects that actually connected with me. And so, therefore, I would do well in them, but in nothing else. So, ADHD is that condition where your brain is always going around and trying to figure things out. It's not always working. The condition is in a multiple places in your brain. and you basically have this problem with executive function, not being able to stay focused on a conversation, interrupting conversations, always needing to do something else, and then forgetting to do this thing, and then doing something else, and just having a chain reaction where you're doing, like, say, if I wanted to clean my room, I'd start cleaning up my desk. Then I say, oh, wait, that happened. And oh, where's this? And then I'd go off on this bunny trail of different tasks which are completely unrelated, because because every 5 seconds my brain is latching onto something else that needs to be done. And at the end of the day, I'm exhausted, I'm frustrated, and I seems like I've got absolutely nothing done. Now the key is, this also presents with either anxiety or depression. Usually there is a comorbidity, to use a medical term, but usually you have, side effects when it comes to that. And so I also have a problem with depression. I've had depression for many years, and it gets aggravated every now and then. I've got therapy for all of this. I'm on medication for all of this, and it is helping fantastically, especially for ADHD. The condition that people, the reason why people, um, actually, it's not the reason why, but many people are of the opinion that ADHD doesn't exist, that it is just spoiled children who have not been taught how to think properly, and it's not a problem that can't be solved with a little bit of willpower. What they don't understand is willpower has absolutely nothing to do with it. This is, I have physically felt unwell when I'm trying to force myself to do something I know I should be doing, but I can't get my brain to latch onto it. It's much harder than one imagines. It's not just a matter of willpower. But not only is ADHD has ADHD been extremely well studied, the medication also works extremely well. So usually they're in a class of stimulants. So some of them are methamphetamines, and some of them are other forms of stimulants, which have an extremely profound effect on the way one thinks. So right now, I've had a cup of coffee, and these coffee is also kind of, helps. So it kind of gets your brain, because every stimulant increases your dopamine levels. And when your dopamine levels and serotonin levels in your head kind of reach normal, instead of making you more hyper, it actually calms me down. These stimulants actually calm me down, and I'm able to focus on the things that I need to do. And I manage to get through the day by doing these tasks and getting myself into some sort of a structured um, format of getting things done. And it really helps to a great extent. So, one thing I want to say at the end of this is, if you see a child or even an adult who seems to be working hard but is not having the kind of output that you feel that they should be getting, there is a chance that it might be ADHD. And you can probably tell them that they should maybe go to a psychiatrist and just get evaluated for it, because laypersons like us, we can see signs, but we are obviously not capable of diagnosing any problem, whatever it may be, whether you've got the flu or anything else. Go to a doctor. And if you see a child who is extremely hyperactive, is running around, always going from one thing to the next, is unable to sit still, is always interrupting you, breaking, you know, cutting lines and stuff like that. Sometimes I feel on the road that most people in India are ADHD, because they keep cutting lines all over the place. Sorry, no, sidetracked. But the most important thing is that, instead of shaming them, like if you're a teacher, if you're a parent, and if you see this kid running around all over the place, his room is a mess, my room has always been a mess, my studio is a mess usually. If these things are, there we go, if these things are obviously, becoming a hindrance to this child's development, or to this adult's development, or to their progress, you need to bring it to their attention that this might be a condition. It's not something to be ashamed of. It's not something to be uh, aware. I mean, self. Well, what's the word? It's not something to be very obsessed about. Like, how are people judging me? How are people, looking at me? But it is good to give them the support and talk to them about what might be the things that actually interest them. This is the reason why I quit corporate life, and I've just been trying to do media and different types of writing, and trying to really find my niche as to what really excites me, and kind of focus on that to take my career forward. I'm very lucky to have had the opportunity to do that. But whoever is feeling troubled by these sorts of things, or relates to any of the things that I've mentioned, which might not all be clear, but try and look into it, discuss these things with your family, maybe see a psychiatrist, read up on it, get it screened, get diagnosed. If you are, and if you have ADHD, do not be nervous about starting medication as soon as possible, because trust me, the medication really helps kind of calm you down and get you into a focused mindset to be able to achieve the things that you want to do. ADHD is a real condition. It is something that needs to be addressed. And especially in a country the size of ours, I am sure there are a lot of people who have it and have no idea. I've been diagnosed this year and I'm 43 years old. So I can't even begin to imagine what other people are going through. Okay, that's my rant for now. Um, Ashish, welcome to the show. I do want to address what you are saying, because it is very important. How do you differentiate between ADHD and depression? The thing is, ADHD is this condition where your brain is always buzzing, and even if you're not physically running around from one thing to the next, your brain is doing that. So it's very hard for you to focus on one thing and not be able to do or at least um, keep jumping from one thing to the next, until and unless you have something which gives you that dopamine hit, in which case you kind of get stuck to it, and then you can't let go. Like, for example, I do map editing for Waze, right? And I find one of those, or music production or editing in music. And I find that when I get into these activities, I cannot remove my attention from them. This is called hyper focus. And like, the only thing that will really get me to stop doing these things is if I desperately need to go to the loo, or I'm starving and I need to order something. But then I always think, no, 5 seconds more, 5 seconds more, 5 seconds more. Depression, on the other hand, is the condition where your dopamine levels are also, or your serotonin levels are also not optimal in your brain. And that slows down your reaction times. It slows down your response to emotions and connection. It it has um it has this way of removing motivation and removing the purpose that you see in things. It kind of makes you go numb. So depression is kind of this condition where you don't see even a point of getting out of bed in the morning. You don't s- you s- And this is why they become very the depression is comorbid with ADHD very often, because when you are in that mindset that you can't settle down and you're not being able to focus on things, and you start thinking that there's something wrong with you, and that why am I going through all of this nonsense, it just becomes very frustrating. And you kind of that this causes extreme self-esteem issues, because especially in school, when you're going through these things and your teachers keep telling you that you have so much potential, but you're not realizing it. You have so much potential, but you're not applying yourself to your topics, to your subjects, to your studying. And that is a huge burden for a child to carry, especially when you don't know what's going on and you don't know what's wrong with you, which is what happened to me for many, many years. And then they have become comorbid. So if my ADHD is increasing, my depression will increase. If my depression is increasing, my ADHD will increase. And they kind of flow together in this perspective. But depression on its own is is a very different, is a connected but distinctly different condition, which is more treated by, say, SSRIs. Now, we don't know exactly how SSRIs, which is selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors, we don't really know how they work and why they help with depression. Because what happens is, if you have a synapse between two neurons, which is where one neuron is passing on information through serotonin and dopamine to the other neuron through the synapse. If there's serotonin excreted here, and it stays in the synapse until it's absorbed into the next neuron. Now, if it doesn't get absorbed in the next neuron, it gets reabsorbed back into the first one. So what SSRIs do is it prevents the initial neuron from reabsorbing it, so that it stays in the synapse longer and it gets absorbed into the next neuron regardless. And this usually helps with getting the symptoms of depression down. And with depression, the that motivation to be able to do anything, to get anything done, has, is extremely suppressed. We've all had low days, right? We've all had bad days when you just don't want to do anything. We just want to sit in front of the TV and watch some random nonsense and just kind of get on with the day and hope till that the day gets over and you're going to start again the next day. Imagine that for 2 years at a time, where every day is like that. That's depression, right? That is not something that anybody would want to experience. And it's extremely hard to kind of climb your way out of it, or even see that you're in that place. Like, there have been many days that, many times that I've gone through like 3 or 4 months of depression, and only when I start getting better, I look back at the last 3 months, I'm like, God, I haven't done anything. I haven't done anything worthwhile with the last 3 months of my life. And I'm like, oh wait, I think that must have been because I was depressed. And then when you start climbing out of it, then it helps. So the ideal thing, of course, how do you tackle depression? There are antidepressants, which can be only prescribed by a qualified psychiatrist. And you should also go through therapy for understanding that and addressing it, and kind of getting, um, uh, basically, is cognitive behavioral therapy. It's called CBT. Is the process of understanding your behavior or lack thereof, what emotions are causing that behavior, and what are the thoughts that are causing those emotions. So it's a little bit of a triangle, and it kind of, these are all interconnected. So when you're in an experience, like if you are not getting out of bed, if you are spontaneously crying in the middle of the day for no reason, then, or howling in front of, one of these romantic movies or something of that sort, uh, then you need to catch yourself and say, okay, this is what I'm feeling. What are the emotions that have led to this, and what thoughts have caused those emotions? So you have to train yourself to be able to go back, address the root cause of those behaviors, and then address them. That is cognitive behavioral therapy in a nutshell, and it is extremely effective. It has been very well studied. It is very effective in a number of different conditions, when it comes to anxiety, when it comes to depression, when it comes to bipolar. There are a variety of different things that this can be applied to, and it really, really helps. And with ADHD as well, there are lots of things that you can do, like, figure out, you can work with a therapist to figure out ways to, address this condition by focusing on structuring your day, making to-do lists, making, having at least, starting with like 1 or 2 things that you really want to get done, and just then build up from there little by little. So I'm in the process of actually uh, getting to that place. Godless Particle, welcome, welcome. Fellow ADHD here. Hey, nice to know. And in a related flow, yes, it is extreme. It can get very, very lonely for people with ADHD, because a lot of the hyperactivity people, um, who kind of uh, what was I saying? See, this is what happens. Live experience of ADHD. But so a lot of people who are hyperactive also have this impulsive way of kind of interrupting people and saying things in the middle of it and blurting things out. And they also can have extreme anger issues because they're not able to control their emotions, because everything is happening now and it has to be addressed, otherwise I'll forget it, so therefore it blah blah blah. So there is a large tendency of such people kind of getting secluded because other kids don't want to hang out with them that much because they're just too intense. So, and I have had that thing because I'm otherwise a very creative person. So I've really sucked at a lot of topics, a lot of subjects in school. And I was also the weird one out because I'd be sitting in class and instead of paying attention to the topic, I'd be reading a sci-fi book under the desk. And yeah, I was that guy. So it was pretty lonely for me, and it is the same for a lot of ADHD people with ADHD. So right now I'm reading this audiobook by Russell Barkley, who is a researcher and an ADHD specialist, and it is fantastic. It is called, God, forgot about that again. One second. Godless Particle says, fellow AD, he's a Godless Particle. Oh, you're an ADHD. You're on medication and and you're also an ADHD coach. Fantastic. I didn't even know that, man. Way to go. You are helping a lot of people who need that help. And I didn't even know I needed that help until just this year, to be honest. Yes, Taking Charge of Adult ADHD, second edition, Russell A. Barkley, PhD. It is a fantastic book. Get into it, read it. Ashish, if you think that you might have ADHD, go consult a psychiatrist, discuss it with them. It takes a questionnaire and a conversation to be able to really understand what's been going on, why you feel like you probably have it. Um, and just take it from there. Honestly, my first psychiatrist, he didn't think I had ADHD at all. I said, "Do you think I have it?" He said, "Nope." And that was the end of that. And he was evidently wrong because I do. So, yeah, medical science, as far as at least mental health networks in this country, are absolutely obnoxiously horrible. And even though he's a very prominent doctor, he did get this wrong. Doctors are humans. They can get things wrong every now and then. Maybe go to two, three different doctors, go for the consensus, and, you can take it from there and just learn how to cope with it, as you go on in life. You'll be fine, man. Trust me. It will work. Oh, you have an ADHD coach. Sorry, man. You're not the coach. All right. Cool, cool. Yes, I have an ADHD therapist, and we are also working through it, and it really, really helps. Like, it's such a relief to know that I can I can finally, it's not an explanation. I mean, okay, it's not an excuse for the behavior that I've had. It's not an excuse for the horrible marks I've gotten all the way through my academics, but it is an explanation. And there are, and that is a big deal. Like, it has changed my life to be aware that I have ADHD, and now I can um, really get into it and kind of, address these things. Oh, the link, logically, yes, will do. Where's the link? Where's the link? Here we are. Mhm. Right. If anybody wants to join in the conversation, hop in here. Now, after all of that, there we go. That's the StreamYard joining link. Do you get excited to know other ADHDers? My life changed when I realized I'm not alone. Absolutely. Um, in fact, I, um, the first time I thought I might have ADHD is when I was talking to Jessica from How to ADHD, the YouTube channel. She's fantastic, by the way. I met her at this science communication camp that was happening in LA in 2018. And when I was talking with her, I was like, oh my God, this sounds exactly like me. Like, that's what ADHD is. That sounds like me. That's why I'd gone to the psychiatrist and said, what do you think? And he said no. And then I was like really puzzled. And I had to stop watching her videos because every time I watched her videos, I was like, if I'm not, if I don't have ADHD, why do I always connect with what she's talking about? But now that I've realized that it is, and I've kind of connected with that. I have a very close friend of mine who also has ADHD. So we're always bonding on that. It is such a relief to know others who are also going through the same thing. And Ashish, once that happens, you don't feel so lonely anymore. So it's all right. You understand yourself better, and you understand other people with ADHD better, and you're like, oh, that's the explanation. It's just as simple as that. It's really, really liberating to kind of know this, to get to understand this part. Godless particle, come on down.
Hi,
Hey,
good to
how's it
see you.
going, man?
How are you doing? Good, good,
Excellent.
all good.
Sunday morning.
Nice, nice.
Chat over
I
coffee.
in one of your videos when you shared about your ADHD, I was like, wow, like so ADHDs are doing a lot of stuff. I know.
And I've figured that, and in this book I mentioned, right, Russell Barkley's book, one of the things he mentions is that a lot of people who have changed the world, literally, including Einstein, probably had ADHD. Can you
Yeah,
believe that?
a lot of historical figures probably did, but it's we can't diagnose them right now. But yeah, probably did.
Yeah,
A
probably
lot of
did.
the radical thinkers and people who brought about a lot of change probably did have ADHD.
Exactly. And I'm going to quickly Google up and see how many celebrities have ADHD. Yes.
Yeah,
No, it's so hopeful.
make us feel better.
Useless. I am not useless in life. Okay, my room will still be an absolute mess, though. I don't care. Oh, Adam
Mm.
Levine. All right. Michael Phelps, Justin
Yep.
Timberlake, Howie Mandel. Okay, I don't know Howie Mandel that much. I've only seen him on those those celebrity talk show. No,
Yeah, American Idol or something.
yeah, yeah. Paris Hilton. Okay. Don't know what to think about that. All right, I'm gonna move on. Jim Carrey. That explains a
Yeah,
lot.
Jim Carrey is another famous.
Will Smith also explains the slap. Lack of
Yeah,
executive function. I should not be doing this. I should not be doing this. Whack. I totally get it. Zoe Deschanel. I had such a huge crush on her, man. Um, Jamie Oliver. Not bad. That's
yeah,
kind
we're
of,
in good company for sure.
yeah, absolutely. This is amazing. Michael Jordan, Woody Harrelson, and Sporty Spice. There you go.
Quickly about the first time that somebody told me that I could be ADHD was my first girlfriend.
Ah,
Um, so and that time this was when I was 20 years old or 19 years old, and it
okay.
didn't work out. And she was like, "Dude, I think you're ADHD. Better go get yourself checked up or something. Like you're weird." So didn't take it very seriously at that time. And
Okay.
following relationships, I started in the same pattern. I
Mhm.
get so into the relationship in the beginning, and then after a while, I'm just like, yeah, okay, that's done. Let me move on to other stuff. So that kept
Yeah.
happening, and this happened in a very serious relationship as well, which then prompted me to go get myself diagnosed, and I got diagnosed in 2014. This
Mhm.
was when I was living in Dubai,
Mhm.
before I moved back to India a couple of years back.
Ah.
So yeah, it's been difficult because there are a lot of comorbidities that come along, like
Mhm.
depression, anxiety, and
Mhm.
RSD, rejection sensitivity dysphoria.
Mhm.
Yeah, just dealing with a lot of stuff that comes free with ADHD.
Yeah.
Those are those are the challenging bits. Even if you try to manage your ADHD, these things that have just come in with that, is the most difficult part to deal with.
Yeah, exactly. It is extremely, I mean, there's so many things. I mean, it affects so many aspects of our lives. I didn't even know that this was a part of my my relationship history. I was like, whoa, I see a pattern.
Yeah, yeah.
And my
And
job.
yeah, like my first marriage also went down the drain because of uh, unmanaged ADHD, basically. So it's tough. If only I knew about this, and I had started work. I would have started working on it. Things would have been a lot different. It's just more difficult as you get older to deal with it and fix all the things. I know it's no point living in the past and thinking, oh, if I knew this earlier, I would have managed it better or changed my life, stuff like that. But that's no point. I mean, we are here now, and what we do now is what we should always keep focusing on.
Exactly. But also, if we don't learn from the past, we are doomed to repeat it. That's the
Yeah.
thing. That comes with ADHD as well. So now I'm looking back at previous jobs, previous relationships, previous, a whole bunch of aspects. Like
It's
I have
everywhere.
a little bit everywhere. But the cool thing is that as adults, we've also kind of learned to either hide some of these, which is apparently called masking, and also cope with some of these to at least have let them have like a more minimal effect on our lives and our jobs and everything else, that every other aspect of our lives. So but it's always a toss up, because if you don't know what you're doing, you win some, you lose some.
Abhijit,
Or
I think your audio is cracking up. I don't know if it's a StreamYard issue or a YouTube thing.
mm,
Anyway, great catching up with you. All the best to you, and probably I'll get in touch with you on Instagram or something. We could, I mean, just
yeah,
catch up and we could share your experiences or whatever. Right?
absolutely, that'd be great, man.
All
And
right.
we'll
Yeah, but just check your audio. Anyone? I'll go back to YouTube and I'll let you know if your audio is okay there.
we'll
Thanks.
do. Thanks a ton, man.
All right. Have a good one.
You too. Bye. That was so much fun. Ashish, yes, absolutely. That is, now it makes sense, right? No, but we've always had a good connection. I met Ashish at a friend's wedding a while back, and we've kind of stayed in touch ever since. So it's been really good. And Ashish, thanks so much for asking these questions. It's been great talking about it, and I'm so glad that we got into this, because this has been really heavy on my mind for this last week, and it is absolutely essential that we as a country really start dealing with mental health issues and coping with that better. Because and I've worked with a friend of mine recently who I will have on the show very soon, who has and we've written a book together. Sorry about that. Coffee. Anyway, so we wrote a book together about adolescent mental health issues, and we've released it, and I think I've posted about it. So if you're on my broadcast list on WhatsApp, you probably know what I'm talking about. Oh, audio is fine on YouTube. Thanks so much, Godless Particle. That's very helpful of you. Thank you. So yeah, so he's where was I? Oh yeah. So Nana Srivastava, her husband, and I, we kind of got together, and her sister as well. I mean, we kind of team effort here. So we've written a book called In Your Corner, which is on Amazon. We self-published it, but it's basically it's 10 fictional short stories about young adolescents who are going through a mental health crisis. And so it's their story, and it's bookended on either side with a lot of nonfiction, informative information, basically, about mental health issues, especially in the context of India, and what it's like to experience these mental health concerns and disorders. And at the end of every story, we put a little what we can learn from the story, and how the characters could have behaved differently, or or who behaved the correct way in different situations, as well as an entire description of specifically that disorder and what it entails, what are the signs that you can use to spot it, and what you can do as a parent or a caretaker or a guardian or a teacher do about it to help that person deal with these mental health problems. So I will put that link in here. Let me get that on in your corner. And I would really greatly appreciate it. I'm not putting this link, which I'm putting, is not going to be an associate link. Or should it? No. Um, I won't put an affiliate link. But yeah, I would really, really appreciate it if you guys popped in here and either buy the book, share it with friends and families who might have or know adolescents who might be going through something serious. Not every adolescent is going to go through this, but I think we've done a good job. I'm very proud of the work that I've done. So I would love for you to share it around and kind of get people to get the book, give it a read, give me feedback if you read it. I would really, really appreciate it. That'd be fantastic. And that is one of the biggest things I've done this year, actually. Right, on to please. Why do you have your name as please? I think on YouTube you have a slightly different name, but I can't be sure because I don't remember because I have ADHD and I'm forgetful and absent-minded. Anyway, let's deal with this now. How to face uncertainty. Most of the people like me worry about the future, fall into superstition. Even we know that. What do you do in these uncertain situations? And he goes on to say how to make decisions during uncertainty with limited information. For example, JFK dealing with the Cuban Missile Crisis. That's a heavy topic. How to navigate through these situations. Now, not all of us, at least I assume. Hi, Cappy. Hello. Welcome to the show. So I don't, well, not many of us will be American presidents dealing with an international situation like what you've mentioned. I'm starting to feel like this is like a Sadhguru kind of question. To be honest with you, I appreciate it though. Um, I'm some people know me as Gyani, if you know what I mean. Never mind, kidding, bad joke. Fuel for the answer. Right. So, how do you see, when it comes to making decisions with uncertainty and limited information, that is pretty much every decision that we make. We almost never have complete information about everything. We should try to get as complete an amount of information as possible, depending on the situation. Of course, all of these have very complex solutions, and Please has a way of asking extremely hard questions to me for some reason. Dude, what do you have against me, man? I'm kidding. But essentially, the thing is, when it comes to making decisions with uncertainty, we just have to make the best decision that we can based on our experiences, based on other situations which might be similar that we might have experienced. When it comes to making decisions I've incorporated something which, when it comes to, like, life changing life decisions, and those are the same thing. They're probably the same thing. Anyway, but when it comes to making these extremely life changing decisions, I've kind of gravitate towards what um, Steve Jobs says. You know, yes, he believed in a lot of pseudoscience, but that's besides the point. The thing is, he had really good life advice. And when it sounds a little morose, but he basically said that when he had his first attack of pancreatic cancer, he basically thought his life was going to end. He thought he had a few months left to live, but he was cured. But he learned something during that period where he basically said that every decision during that period of time became extremely easy. So if you are conflicted with a decision that you have to make now, and this is going to have make a profound difference on your life, then you must look at it, or not must, but you can look at it from the perspective of being on your deathbed and looking back at your life and wondering if you should have made a different decision, or which decision you would have taken instead that would have improved your life and helped you get through life. And that has helped me multiple times, like for when I had the option to go study in the UK instead of staying in working in Gurgaon. I had to look at it from that perspective, and I thought, do I see myself in 20 years as a vice president or something like that in this office with the same people, this kind of work, day in, day out, 1.5 hour commute, whatever it is? Is this how I want to live my life? Or if I have the opportunity to study English or study writing abroad, that could completely change my life. If I'm looking back at this decision from my deathbed, what would I choose? And of course, it was the opportunity to go study abroad, which, if anybody has the opportunity and the resources to do that, I'd say do it. And because it is not only life changing, it f- profoundly changes your perspective on the world, the entire planet. Honestly, I'll come to that a little bit later. But yeah, so when it comes to uncertainty, we all face uncertainty. We almost never have the adequate amount of information that we need to make those decisions, but we do the best we can. And if we fail, which is perfectly fine, it can be disastrous. I guess, I mean, I admit, like, there are many consequences, and there are many situations in which the wrong decision will be horrible when it comes to the consequences. But we have to deal with it. We have to live with those consequences, and we have to just, kind of do the best that we can, learn from our mistakes, move on, and hopefully not make the same mistakes next time around. So that's basically that's it in a nutshell. If you know what I mean. All right. Anybody else want to join me online? Pop in this little link right there. Hop on down. Buy my book. Subscribe. How's that for a cowboy voice? I'm working on it. I'm working on it. Mm. Ah, this is perfect. I found that this mug is absolutely perfect for my studio because no matter what you do, since it has a wider base, narrower top, it won't topple over. Science. Yeah. So yeah, while we're on the whole mental health thing, um, another, there are some big misconceptions that people have. So for ADHD, I talked at length about that, about not being able, like, if you have potential, you have energy, but you don't have focus, and you just have to have some willpower, and you'll be able to take care of it and deal with it. It's obviously all of that is absolutely misguided and misinformed. But when it comes to other mental health issues, there are a lot of things that people have, misconceptions about. So basically, for depression, for example, you just, think happy thoughts, feel, be positive, things will work out better. Um, all right. Logically, is that you?
Yes, hello.
Hey, welcome back. Hey.
Acha, if you don't mind, I can continue in English. You can continue in Hindi. English, I will continue in Hindi.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
not so
that's totally,
comfortable in English. Okay.
that's fine. That's fine. No
अच्छा
problem.
मैं ये कह
Hmm.
अच्छा मैं ये कह रहा था, आप ना स्ट्रीम यार्ड का लिंक ना स्टार्टिंग में पिन कर दीजिए चैट यूट्यूब में जाके ना, तो टॉप में
Ah,
हमेशा वो पिन रहेगा. नॉर्मली सबको यही करते हैं कि स्ट्रीम यार्ड लिंक को पिन कर देते हैं.
pro tip. I will do that. This is only the second time I'm
हाँ, नहीं
using
तो
it.
वो ना ये सब ना अच्छी बात. और आपका सेकंड लाइव में अराउंड आई थिंक 10 या 11 टच करा है, तो बहुत अच्छा है. क्योंकि वीमो जब स्टार्टिंग में करते हैं ना, वीमो बोलता है मैं अकेला ही बात करता था.
Ah,
शुरू में
yeah, yeah.
आपको इतने लोग देखने वाले हैं, मतलब बहुत इनकरेजिंग है कि स्टार्टिंग में आपको लोग देख रहे हैं. और आपने जो एडीएचडी का बताया बहुत अच्छा है.
Thank you.
मतलब आपने न्यूज लॉन्ड्री सुना होगा. न्यूज लॉन्ड्री जो
हाँ, हाँ, बिल्कुल.
न्यूज, हाँ, तो उसमें एक उनका काफी सीनियर जर्नलिस्ट है, शार्दुल. काफी सीनियर है. उनका एक वीकली पॉडकास्ट भी आता है, एक एनएल हफ्ता और एनएल चर्चा. तो उनको भी थोड़े दिन पहले डायग्नोस हुआ था एडीएचडी.
अच्छा.
तो
Interesting.
हाँ, तो वो काफी फिर तो उन्होंने बोला कि ये तो जैसे आपको लगा ना, कई कई लोगों को पता ही नहीं होता कि उनके प्रॉब्लम है. तो
हाँ, बिल्कुल.
उससे हाँ, तो उन्होंने इनकरेज होके एक उन्होंने सीरीज बनाई है 8-9 इंटरव्यू की. माइंड की बात नाम से पॉडकास्ट बनाया है, माइंड की बात.
Very
तो
cool.
उसमें मैंने भी रिसेंटली सुना था. वो बता रहे थे एडीएचडी के बारे में. बोले मेरे को भी प्रॉब्लम थी भाई, डेली काम नहीं कर पाता था मैं, और वीकेंड में समझो 50-60 घंटे लगातार वीडियो गेम खेलते थे वो.
Yeah, that sounds
हाँ,
about right.
हाँ,
But
तो
yeah,
उनके
I totally get that. That is fantastic. In fact, I've been actually thinking of doing an entire series on mental health, and I've been thinking about it for a long time. But because I have ADHD, I've always been putting it off because it seemed like such a daunting task that it was be just, oh my god, that is so heavy. Like, how do I do it? When do I do it? So I've always blocked myself from doing it. So today, now that I've gone on the live stream and I said, let's just let it out and see what happens. But
ना
yeah, I'm
बहुत
going
अच्छा
to.
किया. जैसे जैसे गॉडलेस पार्टिकल में चाह रहा था कि वो भी अपना शेयर करें. तभी मैंने कहा था आप लिंक शेयर करें, क्योंकि जब अपनी लोग बातें शेयर करते हैं ना आपस में, तो उनको पता लगता है कि हाँ, ये मतलब कॉमन चीज है, ये अकेले कोई नहीं है. जब तक लोग आपस में बात नहीं करेंगे मेंटल हेल्थ के बारे में, तब
Hmm.
तक अवेयरनेस फैलेगी नहीं. जैसे आपको लगा,
Absolutely.
वैसे ही जो शार्दुल है न्यूज लॉन्ड्री में, तो उन्होंने भी यही सोच के करा. और बिल्कुल कॉमन लैंग्वेज में बात करते हैं, मेंटल हेल्थ एक्सपर्ट को बुलाते हैं, एकदम फ्रेंडली तरीके से बात करते हैं. मतलब ये नहीं कोई एक्सपर्ट बात करे, फ्रेंडली तरीके से, जो कि लोगों को अवेयरनेस आए, लोग वहाँ समझे, और
Hmm.
जिनको भी प्रॉब्लम हो वो और वो लिंक भी देते हैं भाई. फ्री हेल्प के लिए ऑनलाइन साइट्स बताते हैं, और जो काफी सारे वो बताते हैं, मतलब लिंक्स है जो आपको कम खर्च में, या टोल फ्री नंबर वगैरह भी बताते हैं, या ऑर्गेनाइजेशंस होती हैं जो आपको हेल्प करेंगी डायग्नोस
Ah.
करने में या आपको आगे बढ़ने में.
Oh, that's excellent. Again, shameless plug, but the book that I've linked in the chat, at the end of that, I've put an entire list of phone numbers and organizations, and I've given some extra organizations with a full description as to what they do and how they do it, and where they are and how to get in touch with them. So there's some paid, some which are totally free, and a lot of them which are totally free, and I've try to verify as many of them as possible to make sure that their numbers still are working, and that at least their numbers and their websites are still working. I haven't mailed everybody about it, but at least to give it some sort of validity and help that people might need. So if there is anything else, if there's nothing else that you take from the book, you can always use the last 4 or 5 pages which are very helpful in that way, because this country has got absolutely, it's got a absolute, still got so much misinformation, even at the highest levels, about mental health, that how is, I mean, there's, we don't even have close to the number of psychiatrists and therapists we need to actually treat the entire population. And like I said just before you came on, hey Kalyan, welcome, welcome, welcome. Oh my, whiskey already in the this time of day, not bad. Hey, it's a Sunday, who cares? It's 5 p.m. somewhere. So yeah, so as I was saying before you joined, before you came back on, I that there's so much misinformation, there's so much misunderstanding and stigma against mental health, right? When it comes to anxiety, abe, just calm down, yaar. You know, it's sab theek ho jayega. Then you have for depression, just think happy thoughts, yeah. We talk, we'll have fun, we'll let's go for a movie, this and that. Yes, these are temporarily, they help, but this is not a solution to these problems. And depression and anxiety are two of the most common conditions that there are in this country. So I think about 45, 46% of people have actually got this, have got these, are suffering from these conditions, or a combination of both of them in our very own country. So that is what, lakhs upon lakhs of people. So it's very, very important. So thank you. Thanks, man. Nayan, welcome, welcome. Nayan is another very close friend. She's also very passionate about promoting mental health awareness and removing stigma about such things. And she also contributed to the writing of this book. So with her stories and her experiences, so that has been very helpful. Thank you very much. And Damien Mera, welcome, welcome. Oh, listening to everyone who's been diagnosed with ADHD, honestly feel like I should get diagnosis done as well. I had a chat with Tina, who's his wife, Damien. And she's like, wow, this sounds very familiar. I'm like, all right, time to go get yourself checked out, brother. Mm-mm. You should. You should. And because nobody except a qualified psychiatrist can diagnose you, actually. So if you connect with it, definitely get yourself checked out. It can be very, very, very helpful and life altering. Trust me when I say this, life altering. Like, I have another very close friend of mine, Minakshi, who she and another friend, Dharmender, who also has he has ADHD, and the two of us kind of team up, and we're like ADHD bonding, which is a very weird thing, but we're ADHD bonding, and she's just sitting there looking at both of us, going, "You guys need help." I'm like, "It's okay, we're getting the help we need. It's fine." Oh, Godless Particle is back. Hey, you never left. It's all right. My parents, even after 10 years since being diagnosed, don't accept my ADHD. I don't blame them. Just the state of mental health awareness in India. Exactly. That's exactly what I was talking about. It just, I don't understand why they wouldn't accept your ADHD. Like my parents, I told them about it. They accepted it. They said, oh, that's very weird. I was like, yeah, you remember my messy bedroom, which always looked like a pigsty? That's ADHD. Thank you very much. They're like, oh, that explains a lot. But I know, a Godless Particle, I'm totally empathetic towards this. This it happens all too often when it comes to almost any mental health condition. How about overthinking? Varun has joined us also. Varun, hello, welcome. Um, how about overthinking? How do you identify it as a problem? Overthinking. I think overthinking is more anxiety related. I mean, it can be a variety of things. There are lots of people who just have, that's just the way they are. I am not a psychiatrist, so I'm not providing any medical advice. But if you're I mean, it happens with ADHD as well when you're overthinking, but that's only one aspect of it. So it's not all of ADHD, and doesn't mean that you have ADHD if you're just overthinking a lot. But it could be associated with a lot of anxiety. From what I've read and researched, Anxiety, it could be an aspect of anxiety when you're kind of over like thinking about everything a million different times. What will people think? What would people say? What are the consequences? How do we go about this? And then you kind of get paralyzed with that entire thing. Your heart rate's going up, your sweat is, you got a sweaty forehead, and yeah, that's anxiety. So that is something that you should also get checked out. And if you know somebody who's going through that sort of thing, it'll definitely help to kind of get it checked out, get it discussed, go for therapy if need be. And if you have generalized anxiety disorder, GAD, then it's definitely time to go to a psychiatrist as well and get that looked at. I make it sound like a weird like a weird sore or a mole or something on your skin. Get that looked at. But you know what I mean. You know what I mean. But logically, thank you so much again. No 22 Sil is back, yo. We're all mad here. Alice in Chains. Yeah, aren't we? Alice in Chains. Absolutely love that band. Oh, I should have been wearing that, but I thought coffee, the coffee context would work out with this t-shirt. If you can read it, I don't know. It's mirrored over here. Can you read it? Yeah. This is my cup of I give a shit. Oh, look, it's empty. Just like my cup of I give. Oh, this is a very shit colored mug, actually. Sorry. Oh, this has been lovely. Logically, thank you so much for joining again. And anything else you wanted to add?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
अच्छा, वो आपको मैंने एक बताया था यूट्यूबर
Sorry, you broke up there for a second. Can't hear you. This is happening a lot today. Do you repeat that logically? I think your signal's probably gotten a bit of a problem there. No, I did
Hello,
not look.
hello,
Yeah, now I can hear you.
hello. हाँ, ये some glitch है. StreamYard में glitch चल रहा है अभी recently.
वो तो होता रहता है यार. Every
हाँ,
technical.
तो मैं जरा
हाँ, you were saying.
एक YouTube का चैनल का सम्यक सोच, ये साइंस कम्युनिकेटर है हिंदी में, मतलब बिल्कुल सिंपल लैंग्वेज में साइंस सम्यक सोच, अमित तिवारी का ही चैनल है.
So what is it? Type it down in the chat so that we can all.
I have vision problem. That's why I
Acha,
can't.
acha, acha.
I just can't.
Okay, no
सम्यक
problem.
सोच, SAMYAK, I think. सम्यक सोच.
Okay, got. And there's another channel called Soch by Mangal or someone, right? Mangal.
No, that is channel like Dhruv Rathi. Soch by Mangal, Mohak Mangal.
Thanks,
On the
God.
same lines like Dhruv Rathi.
Yeah, but
There's a
he
different
also.
channel.
Yeah, that it is very Dhruv Rathi like, but then Dhruv Rathi has started doing debunking and myth busting videos as well, and as has Soch as well, which it's a fantastic. I love that stuff. Coffee bub. But thanks. I've added that to my list, and I will be spending the rest of the day watching all of that. Thanks so much, man. You are expanding my world as we speak. All right. Thanks a ton, man. Thanks for joining. Anybody else wanna pitch in on anything? Or want to join me? I've pinned the comment, which now today, thanks to Logically, I now figured out how to pin a comment. I have to go back to YouTube and do that. So it is now, because I've been looking around saying, how do I pin a comment in StreamYard? But apparently you can't do that sort of thing. You have to do it back in YouTube. So thanks a ton. Sameep Science says his Wi-Fi needs a mental health checkup too. I think he's talking to you logically. Damien says, I lose interest in almost everything I do, like previous relationships, jobs, etc., except gaming. So could there be signs of ADHD? I think those do seem ADHD like, very much so. So, of course, ADHD has a huge range of symptoms, and I think the DSM-5 has something like 108 symptoms, which is absolutely ridiculous. But it's when you're losing interest in things very quickly, which are not giving you a dopamine hit, when you are losing focus, except for things that you do. I mean, this is also normal in a way, right? So normal people also lose interest in things easily, but the capability of still continuing with it, even if you've relatively it's lost its sheen, so to speak, like even in a new relationship, it's kind of lost its excitement. So maybe that's not the way it'll continue, but um it is a possibility. So when it also comes to having no inhibitions, when it comes to speaking out of turn, or driving rashly, like Russell Barkley for some reason has this really strong finding that he says that a very high percentage of people affected by ADHD do end up having very serious car accidents. So, Damien, no more drinking and driving. And now that Tina knows how to drive, let her do it. Not wanting to study. Well, nobody wants to study, right? It's science. Not wanting to study. Can it be ADHD, or is studying really that boring? Question that for a very long time. No kid really wants to study except for the subjects that they're interested in. That just is a fact, right? But the disorder part of it happens when you are incapable of studying something. Logically, just for the time being, I am just taking you off the thing, because, and if you want to come on, just let me know, and you just unmute yourself, and we'll have you on again. So not wanting to study can ADHD be? Yeah. So if you are if the problem is so serious that you are incapable of studying things that are really hard, until, or at least that you don't find interesting at all, until the very last second, when the adrenaline compensates for uh, for your inability to focus, when you get that adrenaline push, you have to do it last minute, and that leads to usually getting bad marks or something of that sort, or not scoring well on subjects that you're not interested in. That could be a sign of it, but then it also has to be mixed together with a bunch of other things. But in just to be clear, let me just do a quick search on what are the symptoms of ADHD, so that we can actually put that together. So we've got the NHS website, and they are basically saying impulsiveness and hyperactivity is one side of it. Inattentiveness is this, and the other presentation of it, and there is a combined presentation as well. So for inattentive type, which is me, the main signs are having a short attention span and being easily distracted, making careless mistakes, for example, in schoolwork, but I'm an adult, so in other work. And that does happen a lot. I depend very heavily on Grammarly to help me with that stuff. Appearing forgetful or losing things all the time. Everything I have has got an Apple AirTag on it because I keep losing shit. It's ridiculous. Thank God for Apple AirTags. Steve Jobs. Thank Jobs. Anyway, that doesn't sound right. Anyway, appearing to be unable to listen or carry out instructions. I'm sure my mother will probably agree to that. Constantly changing activity or task. That does happen way too much, especially in the morning before I have my meds, and having difficulty organizing tasks. Then we have hyperactivity and impulsiveness, which has the following symptoms: being unable to sit still, especially in calm or quiet surroundings, constantly fidgeting, being unable to concentrate on tasks, excessive physical movement, excessive talking, like what I'm doing right now, being unable to wait their turn, acting without thinking, interrupting conversations, or having little or no sense of danger. These can be extremely dangerous. And related conditions, like I already mentioned, anxiety disorder, which causes your child to worry and become nervous most of the time, because if you are not being able to concentrate and you're panicking at the same time and you're wondering what people are thinking, and that can lead to the anxiety side of things. I have depression with it, but anxiety can be equally valid when it comes along with ADHD, and it could lead to a lot of extreme physical side effects. Obviously, when you've got anxiety, then you've got a lot of adrenaline, you've got, you can have panic attacks, which can be extremely hard on the body and the mind. um 1 second. Right. And we have, there's autistic spectrum disorder, which also has that possibility of being, associated with ADHD. So, of course, if you don't know what autism is, it's basically this affects your social interactions, your communication skills, interests and behavior, and basically how you develop, how your brain develops. Conduct disorder, which has a tendency towards antisocial behavior like stealing, fighting, vandalism, or harming people and animals. Yeah, that apparently is also a thing. Dyspraxia, which is a condition that affects your physical coordination. Epilepsy, which causes your brain to have fits or seizures. Tourette's syndrome is also associated with it, which is a condition of the nervous system where you start making involuntary noises, which basically present as tics, and you have certain movements and twitches, and also learning disabilities like dyslexia. So this is, these are all things that have to happen, that also are associated with ADHD. And for the symptoms in adults, like we are, I assume, carelessness, lack of attention to detail happens to me all the time. I wish I was as attention focused as I had attention to detail, but I don't. Continually starting new tasks before finishing old ones happens to me every single day. Poor organizational skills, tell me about it. Inability to focus or prioritize, as I said before. Continually losing or misplacing things, again, happens to me all the time. Forgetfulness, restlessness, and edginess. Difficulty keeping quiet, speaking out of turn, blurting out responses, and often interrupting others. Having mood swings, irritability, quick temper, which I don't have, thank God. Thank jobs. Inability to deal with stress, extreme impatience, and taking risks in activities, often with little or no regard for personal safety or the safety of others. That is the class for today. um, Nayan says, I am diagnosed with schizophrenia. Oh, yes, you are. Sorry. Sometimes, you see, forgetfulness, it's a thing. What are the practices we can do to calm it down? That you will have to speak to your therapist and your psychiatrist about. I am unfortunately not very familiar with schizophrenia. That's not something that I have written about either, but there is a lot of information out there. It has been heavily studied as well. From what I know, it basically is, there are symptoms of paranoia, there's symptoms of, that you're talking to people who are not actually there. You feel presences around you that might not always be there in reality. So I would say, please just talk to your doctor. If any of you have schizophrenia or fear that you have schizophrenia or that a family member does, just approach a psychiatrist about it and discuss the symptoms and get understand what more can be done. So sorry, Nayan. I will look it up, and as I said to logically earlier, I do want to make an entire series on mental health. So when I do that, I will be sure to add schizophrenia to it, and we'll dip into it together, and we'll figure out how to put it across and help as many people as we can. No 22 Sil. Is the sure diagnosis of ADHD a help or a deterrent in living a functional life in India? Can I mention it on my resume, for example? Or is it a secret that stays with the anxious family? That's a very good question. The diagnosis of ADHD, I feel, is extremely important. It is, it will help you live a more functional life for sure, with your family, with yourself, with your spouse or partner. It can have a profound effect on how you live your life and how you organize your day. And only when you know it can you do something about it. The thing is, putting it on your resume will be counterproductive because you never know who's looking at your resume. If you have ADHD, people either think that you're a hypochondriac or that you're just going to make an excuse for, slacking off or doing something of that sort, because people don't understand. People, we in this country, and I don't think in any country has reached the level of awareness about mental health where you can readily put those kinds of things on your resume. I think in Europe and in a couple of countries in the Europe and probably in the UK, you can put it as a possible disability or a changed ability or something of that sort, so that HR will be able to help you and monitor your progress and then have discussions with you about therapy or anything of that sort. So there are very few countries where they actually count this in your resume, but India is nowhere close to it. Not even close. Like, do not even bother with that. I have been very open about my mental health issues with my colleagues, but not with my bosses. So even if they got to know about it, I don't know what they would have done, because nobody really knows anything. It's very annoying. But you don't have to keep it a secret. To answer the last part of your question, you don't have to keep it a secret. Tell people who matter and explain to them what it entails and what it might lead to, what kind of behavior it might lead to from your, from in your context, and so that they understand that. And it's not an excuse for doing things, it is an explanation. So, for example, I might have, in some sort of a chat, I would have said something inappropriate, something that is a burning question in my head, but objectively speaking, it's an inappropriate question, maybe in an inappropriate context. I've said it because I have ADHD, because I in my mind, it seems perfectly legit to ask that. But if it's not in context and they say, dude, I took offense to that, then I would say, okay, I'm really sorry. I retract that. I'm sorry I ever asked. Um, if you feel that the person you're talking to is open enough, then you can say, why do you think it was inappropriate? Can you explain it to me? Because I had this condition. It's not an excuse, it's an explanation. In my mind, that also kind of makes sense, but don't bet on it. Just be discreet as far as that's concerned. And if need be, apologize, because just because you have a condition is not an excuse. It's an explanation, not an excuse. Samip Science. I have a habit of checking things repeatedly, like I check the door if it's closed like 10 times. Do you know what it is? And if this is normal? That is seems like a sign of obsessive compulsive disorder, which usually comes along with conditions like anxiety or depression. Because if you feel like if your mind kind of feels like things are out of your control, that you have no control over your existence and the world around you, then it has a tendency of having certain thoughts which are fed by your condition, which become obsessions of, for example, it could be for safety, right? So if you're anxious about, what if somebody breaks into my house, then you will check the door. But that thought keeps repeating itself. So you will check the door 10 times because it becomes a compulsive behavior. So that obsessive thoughts are, are basically have roots in anxiety and or depression and leads to this sort of behavior, right? So it's usually comorbid with, I mean, or roots from anxiety or depression. So if you have this sort of behavior, maybe it's wise to again speak to a psychiatrist about this. um, and have this conversation, and then you kind of move forward with a treatment regime, because you can have this could become detrimental to basically your life. It can affect your life extremely, because there are some people who not just have this habit of just, maybe checking the door, but before you leave the house, you have to clean your entire house. So, or before you go to bed, you have to clean the entire house. Now, you spend an hour cleaning your entire house before you go to bed, and now you're dirty. So now you have to take a shower, and that it just stretches out a lot of time that you could have used for other things, like maybe winding down, watching a little bit of, or meditating or something of that sort. So this can have an effect on the quality of your life. So if you're feeling that way, have it, discuss it. Probably because of short-term memory loss, symptom of ADHD, forgetting that you locked the door, so you check again and again. It is a possibility, but if you are aware that you're doing this 10 times over, then it's probably not a memory loss thing from ADHD. But again, I am not the psychiatrist. Please go to a professional, discuss the problem with them, and just get it out there. And the thing is, one more thing I wanted to address is that the that taking that first step to going to a specialist or a therapist and addressing these issues is also something that a lot of people are very resistant to, because they fear judgment from society. That what will people say if they find out that I've gone to a psychiatrist? Will they think I'm crazy? Oh my God. Which is also, it's not good. It's not nice. Hey, Piyush, better late than never, brother. It's good to see you alive. Well, I wouldn't really be on here if I wasn't, right? I'm sorry. Yeah. So I'm glad you could join. Better late than never. And we've been going for a while now. Oh my God, it's almost 2 hours. Well, 1.5 if you count me forgetting to go live for the first half an hour. Oh my God, I'm never gonna let this down. Never gonna let myself let this down. But yeah. So as I was saying, so actually going to a doctor and having these issues addressed is not something that a lot of people like doing, because they're like, oh, I'll deal with this myself. I'm going to be macho about this, and I'm going to figure this out on my own, and I'm going to do meditation, and I'm going to read a whole bunch of books by Sadhguru, and organize my inner thoughts and all. But it doesn't always. Oh, wow, I sounded like that other guy, right? For a second, I think the guy who's gone and founded his own country. I keep forgetting his name. The nutty one. Aren't they all? Anyway, so what I was saying is that initial aversion to seek help is uh, not really. It's not really connected with reality in that way, right? Your health, your physical health, and your mental health are one and the same thing. Your life depends on the treatment you get. What society thinks about you going to a psychiatrist or a therapist, first of all, who's asking? Why are they asking? How is it any of their business? You can go and just get the help you need. You don't have to tell anybody. If you have to tell somebody in your family, you can tell them if you trust them. If you don't think that they understand, you can try and explain it to them. If they don't understand it, once you explain it to them, you can just let it be and do it anyway. Nobody has a right to stop you from seeking treatment when you evidently need it, or you're self-aware enough that something is wrong and I need to get treated for this. So it's a very, very important thing that you need to address. And the key is basically to let yourself wait, rewind. Again, ADHD brain at work here. um, Talking about, I'll come back to this in a moment. So no 22 sil, squirrel. Sorry. If you know the reference, you know the reference. All right. It says talking about someone being a hypochondriac, and that is basically a person who always thinks that there's something wrong with them. Is it one who obsessively worries about one's health and checks the internet for possible clues on what might be wrong with him or her? Is it a subset of ADHD? A hypochondriac could be, it's more, I would say, anxiety related. Again, this is only my opinion. I don't know if that could be a subset of ADHD. It's not that I've heard that it could be a subset of ADHD. Uh, Being this kind of has connotations of maybe OCD or anxiety disorder, generalized anxiety disorder. So this probably has elements of that. So hypochondriac is when you basically every time something happens, you're like, oh no, I've got cancer, and like, oh no, something else is happening. I used to be in a kind of a hypochondriac state when I used to smoke, because every time I got a sore throat, I'm like, oh my god, I'm gonna die, and it never really happened, obviously, but that anxiety was enough to help me quit. So that definitely helped. But this hypochondriac thing is probably more anxiety and OCD related than ADHD. Again, check with your doctor. And coming back to the doctor thing, it's very so a lot of people think that it's a weakness, that I can fix this on my own. The fact is, if you've got meningitis, bacterial meningitis, or amoebiasis, you can't fix that on your own. If you've got arthritis or cancer, you can't fix that on your own. There are doctors for a reason. They are specialists in treating these conditions, and they are the ones who can help you with that. If you don't trust one doctor, go to five. It is fine to get second, third, fourth, fifth opinions, as many opinions as you want, and go with the consensus of what all the doctors say. That is the scientific way of thinking. That's the rational way of thinking, because we want to go with the scientific consensus instead of just finding one source and sticking with it. So always get multiple opinions, and just go with the treatment option that you're comfortable with. But also don't avoid a treatment option because you say that, oh, but these medications make you slow, they kill your personality. There are lots of these different aspects of psychiatric medicine where people just say that, oh, it's bad for you, it's addictive, it's going to do this to you, it's going to do that to you. It really, first of all, it depends on the medicine. So for ADHD medications, these methamphetamines, these stimulants, they can be addictive, they can be misused, which is why they are very, very heavily regulated. You cannot, not even in India, get a bottle of Concerta without a prescription. You have to speak to your doctor, you have to get the prescription from them, and then you have to get it from like one supplier who is the supplier for all of Delhi, basically. And there is no way in hell that you can just get it from your local chemist, right? Antidepressants also need a prescription. Most places will require a prescription for that. So when it comes to things that can be misused, they are very heavily regulated, even in this country. When it comes to and for misuse, I mean like people who just start taking them for no reason, for no good reason, for stimulants, because, oh, I need to study, so instead of having coffee, I'll take like 5 Concerta and just see what happens and wait for my brain to explode. That's not the right way to do it, and people use that, and that's why people are addicted to amphetamines, to meth, like in Breaking Bad. But that treatment has been designed to be effective with the minimal amount of side effects. Every single medicine has side effects. Psychiatric medicines can have unusual side effects, which maybe, might be a little bit different from other forms of medication. And that's why you have to work with your psychiatrist on a continuous basis, report back to them if you're feeling certain side effects. Like, for example, I was taking a heavy dosage of a certain type of antidepressant, which eventually was making me feel unwell and gave me migraines. So we, over the course of a couple of weeks, switched over to a different one, which now is a different side effect, but it has another medicine that I have to add to it, which nullifies that side effect. And Therefore, I can cope with it a lot better because it is improving my mood. It is working. It's not dulling my senses. It's not killing my personality. Neither is my ADHD medication. And even anxiety medicines help help you stay calm. And the alternative is that you go on through your life with palpitations, with sweats, with panic attacks, and you don't do anything about it. That is no way to live. So treat your brain just like any other organ in your body and get the treatment that you need. If you don't want to take medicines, if you're still skeptical about it, fine. Discuss it with a doctor at least. Understand the consequences. And then you can make an informed decision. If you want to just do therapy and see if that works because you feel that your depression or your anxiety is situational, like it's like depression after the loss of a loved one, or anxiety because you've got your annual thing happening at office or something of that sort, your annual evaluation or whatever it is. If you're nervous about these things, you can just talk to a therapist and find coping mechanisms that you can use to limit that, but and still kind of continue with life in a healthy way. But when people say that, oh, we don't need psychiatrists, we don't need therapy and stuff like that, that is absolute nonsense. Those things make profound changes in your life. Godless Particle says, my psychiatrist told me there are gamers getting their hands on ADHD meds so that they can game without sleeping. Yes, that is happening. That's why things like Concerta, Ritalin, Adderall are all extremely heavily regulated, um, because people do use them as stimulants. The problem is they don't really work that way. They help ADHD minds be calmer, focused, more attentive, more organized. But with normal people, doesn't really do much. If you wanted to keep you awake all night, fine, do it. But geez, get a life. But it's true. These are very often misused. Piyush says, I mean, I was the first person to join the first live stream, if you don't remember. Yeah, of course I remember. In this DNA age, new phrase. Today I'm here just to mess around a little bit. Bye. I do remember you joining the first one. Thank you very much. Thanks for coming in, and thanks for joining us while you did. It's always great to have you along, and I'm so glad so many of you logged in. This is even though I messed up a bit in the beginning, but things have gone quite well, and I think Logically was the first one who kind of got in. We started having this chat, so Logically, special thanks to you. So I think this is a good place to kind of end things off. I think we've been going for about an hour and a half, which is pretty damn good. I'm happy. So thank you all for joining me. It's time for lunch. If you haven't already had brunch, I'm gonna go and grab a bite in a bit. But thank you all for joining me. This has been absolutely fantastic. Great fun. I finally managed to vent all my frustrations about mental health issues. And thanks all for being there and for discussing this with me. It's been absolutely fantastic. So I'll let this video go live right after this, so we can all go back and watch it if you feel like that, and share it with your friends if you want somebody to listen to me ranting about mental health for an hour and a half. Could be fun. Hey. Anyway, you guys have a wonderful Sunday. Waste the Sunday, because a Sunday wasted is a Sunday not wasted. Remember that. Until next time, be rationable, and thank you everyone for joining me. I think I'm going to keep Sunday noon the stable live stream date. All right. You and me, we're back next Sunday at 12 noon. All right. I'll see you then. Don't forget. Stay rationable, people. Bye.